Hey everybody, welcome to day 2, Breakfast with Bob from Hotel West End in beautiful Nice. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels Go Longer, HOKA Let's Fly, deboer wetsuits, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Quintana Premium Plus Sports, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest has had a pretty phenomenal pro rookie season. Matthew Marquardt joins us. Matthew, how you doing?
Good. It's awesome to be here, Bob. It's nice to meet you in person for once and to be in sunny Nice.
Well, and look what you've done as a rookie. If somebody had said before the season starts, okay, you're going to be a pro this year and you're going to end up qualifying to go to Nice, have one of the races for the ages where 21 seconds separates the first 3 guys, and then you get another you get a second place at Ironman Coeur d'Alene. Pretty phenomenal season.
Yeah, no, I've been incredibly happy with it. It's been way, way better than what I ever expected, and so it's been just a lot of fun.
So the other part of you that is fascinating is that you're going to be a doctor.
Yep.
And so right now, talk a little bit about what you're doing medically in terms of the research.
Yeah, so I'm a medical student at The Ohio State University in the U.S., and I'm between my second and third years of medical school right now. I've decided to add on an additional research year so that I can spend some time really getting into some research that we're doing using 3D printing to help with cancer surgeries.
Wow. And was that something that passion project for you, something to do with cancer surgeries?
Yeah, so I'm really passionate about cancer in particular. That's why the main name on my jersey is the James Cancer Center, because I want to make a difference in the world of cancer research and cancer awareness. And I've had a lot of people in my life that have had cancer.
Has it touched your family?
Yeah, and so if you'll notice on my bike, I have the initials of a bunch of people in my life that have been touched by cancer in different ways, and so the cancer part was obvious, and then the 3D printing. My brother and I got a 3D printer 6 or 7 years ago, and when they were first becoming more available, and kind of early in college, we created a little 3D printing company that made some swimming equipment, and kind of just kept with it. And then when I found my mentor at OSU, Dr. Kyle Vancouvering, and learned that he was doing this, I was like, this is the perfect fit, and so decided to take a year to spend with him and learn from him and try and make an impact in that space and push the field forward.
Sometimes as either a professional or as an age group athlete, this sport can be overwhelming in terms of the amount of time you put in, the amount of sort of mindless riding, running, swimming, and when you don't have another purpose, it can seem almost selfish.
For sure.
But it seems like you understand that there is a bigger purpose, that I can use my platform that I'm developing to create awareness about cancer research and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's been kind of my goal all along. So I did my first triathlon race about 2.5 years ago at this point, and originally I just wanted to do one race, and a bunch of people continued to push me, and they're like, you have the potential to be a pro and even be good as a pro, and I was like, okay, well, I want to do something different. I want to figure out a way to do something different in this sport and have a different impact than a lot of other athletes. And so having that additional purpose of doing it, for cancer research, for the people in my life, has been really helpful for me. And I'm hoping that I'm making a difference of some sort. And for sure, there are definitely days where, especially the end of the day workouts, you'll learn with me, are the ones that I generally don't want to do the most. When 4 o'clock, 4:30 rolls around and I've already had one workout in and have had a long day of studying or work, I won't want to do a workout, but it's okay, you got to do it. It's not necessarily for yourself. Just pick someone to do it for, and that helps get me through it. So.
In this day and age, because everybody can reach out to anybody, do you find that people now are discovering your story and reaching out and saying, hey, I'm dealing with this, or dealing with a friend of mine who's dealing with cancer? Then it sort of validates what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely had a lot of people. I'm just kind of starting to get onto social media and whatnot. Before kind of last year, I didn't have any.
Right.
But starting to get on it now, and I've had a lot of people reach out, are either medical students or cancer survivors, or they have people in their family that have been touched by cancer reaching out saying this is so awesome, or asking for advice on this or that. And I do my best to respond to everyone, because I think
that's hard. You got a full
it's
day.
hard. But, sometimes long bikes on the trainer
Yes.
enable me to respond to most of them. So,
So you had, when you have a race like you had in Texas, it was you, Rudy Von Berg, Robert Wilkowicki, which I've been working at pronunciation, our young man from Poland. But you had, that was your first Ironman.
yep.
And you get third place there, 21 seconds separating the three of you.
Yep.
About 48.59 swim, 4:08.12 bike, 2:43.08, 7:45.11. First time out. That people work their whole career to
Yeah.
have times like that.
Yeah.
Did you know early on? I think I'm having a good one here.
So, the swim went pretty much exactly
Yeah.
to plan, which was I wanted to be in the first pack. So there wasn't any surprises there. On the bike, I never really look at the time. I just more focus on my power and my
Right.
heart rate. But I do remember getting off the bike and switching to the screen that says the time and seeing 4:08, and I was just like, "Holy crap, that was fast!" And then it was just like the run, and it just started ticking away, and I negative split the run, so that was really fun.
Yeah.
To be able to get stronger as you go through a marathon is a pretty special experience, and then to be able to kind of run people down right at the end was I don't know. It was in many ways, yes, I didn't win, but I felt like it was very much like a fairy tale debut.
Well, you were in the mix.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be 10 minutes back in
Right.
second place, but you were at the pointy end, right?
Right.
You went by Rudy.
Yep.
So you're leading the race.
Yeah, so I wanted to make it interesting for everyone. I wanted to put on a little show, of course. No.
Yeah.
I caught up to Rudy with about a mile and a half to go. And at that point, Roberto was still a little bit ahead. And
Yes.
Rudy started to surge, and I tried to stay with him. And then Rudy kind of was about, maybe 3/4 of a mile to go. He was able to pull away, and then, I ended up only 8 seconds behind Roberto at the finish line. So it was quite exciting, quite close.
Well,
for
that's
sure.
cool. Basically, you sort of, I think Rudy might have been giving Robert the race, right? Right. And then you come up, and Rudy actually talked about it yesterday. All of a sudden, this gear came out of somewhere, and he dug deep and got away and caught Robert and got the win, which was amazing.
Yeah.
What a special day.
Yeah, no, and I love that course. The Texas course is really cool. It's 3-loop run course, beautiful area, and then the
woodlands,
spectators are just great. So
then you go from there and Coeur d'Alene.
Yep.
And so it's one thing to have, rookie has a great race, but then you come back and get second place there.
Yep.
And very similar, 2:49. It was probably really hot. This can be really hot there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 4:25 bike. That's a tougher bike course. And 48:39, basically the same thing in the swim. So another great day.
Yeah, for sure. And that race in particular, I was not feeling good on the bike, and I think it's one of those great examples of you just can't quit.
Right.
Because it was a 2-loop bike course, and I was very close to quitting at the end of the first loop because I was just like, I'm not feeling good. I'm not hitting power. And then, the flip switched, and all of a sudden, Chris Lieferman comes through, and
Yes.
I went with him, and then I ended up leading about the last third of the bike. And, the rest of the race, I guess, is history. So.
That's awesome. And then you get invited PTO US Open.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at a lot of Hall of Famers. You're looking
sure.
at some of the legends of the sport. Did you feel like, okay, you know what, I belong here?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I entirely felt like I belonged there, but I was really grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And really wanted to show what I could. And I think, 14th place showed that I could hang with the best.
Yes.
And it was just a really cool environment. I think, so in high school, I qualified for the U.S. Olympic trials in swimming.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of, been at swim meets with Katie Ledecky and Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte and all those guys. And I thought that was the peak. But I honestly think that, especially in terms of quality per capita, if you will, of athlete, there was nothing to beat the U.S. Open in terms of just it was one of the strongest fields I've been in.
Christian, Gustav,
And
all the guys. Yeah.
So that was super cool and really, really awesome experience. And I had a 5-day prep for that. So we really just kind of went in with no expectations and was just okay, whatever happens, happens.
Right, you got nothing to lose.
Right, exactly.
Well, and that, to be honest, you also have a bigger picture at the end of the day,
For
right?
sure.
This stuff is a little bit. It's a fun hobby.
Yes.
that you know down the line you're going to be doing cancer research
For sure.
for a big part of your life.
Yep.
And this is something that, hey, if I can travel to Nice and travel to these cool places and race with Jan Frodeno and what could be his last ever win. But swimming, you swam at Princeton, and did you cross-train at all there? Or was it all swim and weight room?
So most of my cross training came from growing up. So I was on a bike from a very young age.
Okay.
My parents kind of were weekend warrior cyclist type deals, and so I would go out and ride with them, but never competed cycling wise. And then we were a very big fan of multi-sport in the other sense of the word, where I did soccer, I did lacrosse, I did track, I did cross country.
Everything.
So I had this significant base throughout high school, and then at college, when I was at Princeton, I did have to just focus on swimming, and so it was swimming and weightlifting. But then in the off season, I would run, just for some cross
fitness,
training. And it really wasn't until COVID that I really got back on the bike again and started to bike a lot more.
Because COVID canceled your senior season.
Exactly.
So you signed up for an Ironman.
And so I signed up for an Ironman because I was like, I need something to do. Like, I'm going to graduate. I need to stay in shape at least through graduation, so I look good in those photos.
Exactly. And you qualified for Ironman age group.
Yep.
And so your first world champs, you qualified, So this last year, was that your first?
So I qualified for St. George,
70.3
Worlds in 2021.
Yes.
And so that was my first kind of Ironman world experience.
Right.
But, that was very much a COVID race.
Yes.
And so there was mainly Americans, and it was a great experience.
Yep.
But it really wasn't until Kona that really got the full international feel for a world championship race. So
A fascinating major in chemistry and a minor in entrepreneurship.
Yep.
That's a pretty good double.
Yeah, it was challenging for sure. It prepared me really well for medical school. Swimming 20 plus hours a week and being in one of the most challenging majors in college was not easy. But it's made medical school feel very familiar, I guess, in terms of that challenge. And it's enabled me to do pro triathlon and medical school at the same time. So. And
you've had a chance to ride this course?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been doing my best to memorize all the turns and know the climbs and kind of go through different scenarios in my mind of like, okay, what if someone attacks here or attacks here?
Yep.
It's always a delicate balance, I think, for the men in particular, where it's like, okay, do you go with the group or do you stick with your own race? And so kind of trying to think through that and still working through a couple things, but it'll all be ready by race day.
Well, and the nice thing is the marathon, 4 loops you're going to have. It's not like you're out in the middle of the lava fields by yourself.
For sure.
It's crowds are going to be crazy.
Yep.
You'll have a lot of motivation along the way. When you go into a world championship like this, you mentioned that, hey, I just want to, I'm not sure if I'm going to stay with a group and do my own thing. I noticed a little bandage on your elbow. Did you take a turn a little too fast?
Yeah, I took a turn a little too fast practicing one of the descents, and the wheels came out from under me. So decided to do a little slip and slide on the road.
But you're okay.
But I'm totally fine. So luckily it's just a little bit of road rash.
Okay.
And everything will be fine and ready to go for race day.
Have you done, since, like you said, you rode a lot in the summers. Have you ridden a lot of this type of terrain where it's a lot of, downhill and major climbs?
Not really. Ohio is very flat, as you know.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of had stints here and there so I biked across the country in 2021.
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of got some of that out west, and I've been to Boulder here or there, and I did do some mountain biking growing up as well. So like I have like
done everything, yeah.
I have enough of a base where I feel very comfortable on a bike, and I feel comfortable with these kinds of descents. And I think the coolest part about the descents is when you're hitting it right, it just is a lot of fun. Like you get a really good flow going through those turns and whatnot, and it's fun to go fast. So
a lot of our guys, sort of like Rudy Von Berg and Heldorn and even Sam Laidlaw, they sort of grew up with the sport.
Right.
So they know all the legends and the history, and this is fairly new to you, right?
Yeah.
So when you see some of these pros at the races, you really might not even know who the heck these guys are.
Yeah, no. Most of the time I don't. Maybe I'll know the name, but I definitely don't know the face. And And so I'm waiting for the opportunity when I make a fool out of myself, introducing myself to someone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the nice thing is you're not going to be intimidated by anybody. If somebody goes by on the bike and I'm like, yeah, there's some guy goes by, I better make a decision if I'm going to go with him or not.
For sure. Exactly.
Love
yeah.
it.
Someone will go by and I'll be like, I have no idea who that is, but
Yeah.
we're just going to figure it out.
Exactly. Very cool. Matthew, thank you so much for taking time. I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're bringing to the sport. I love the fact entrepreneurship and chemistry.
Yep.
I don't know how many people have that double major. That's awesome.
Yeah. I just wanted something that would challenge me to think differently.
Yes, it
So-
does challenge you to think differently. What can you bring in terms of entrepreneurship to the medical profession?
Oh, I mean, there's
so much,
there's
right?
so much. Like, I mean, yeah, everyone thinks of entrepreneurship as starting a company, but just starting a new initiative, having a different way of thinking about a complex problem.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different. Entrepreneurship's all about just problem solving and thinking through things differently. And,
Right.
Especially tackling the hardest things. And so that's
Also, you think about it when guys are doing research and they're in the lab all the time.
Yep.
They know there's a reason and a purpose
Yep.
for what they're developing.
right.
But they haven't really told anybody else.
For sure.
Right? They haven't really explained that to the world. Why this is important, where with your background, that's where you come in.
Exactly. I mean, being able to communicate what you're doing,
Yes.
I think is
Huge.
Is huge.
Yeah.
This can be more than half the battle sometimes, because you may have the best idea in the world, but if you can't convince other people that it's a good idea, then you're going to be stuck in the water.
Exactly.
So,
Perfect. I love what you're doing.
thank you.
Matthew Marquardt has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob. We are here in beautiful Nice. Hold on, everybody. We'll be right back.